Welcome friends to another r/AmITheJerk video. Would you be a jerk for getting mad at a prank at a party? We'll get to answer that hard-hitting question, but first a story from Throwaway365665. Am I the jerk for forcing my husband to sleep on the couch? This conflict is pretty recent. I, female 29, used to use tampons for my periods, but due to medical reasons, couldn't do it anymore. No, I'm using pads, which isn't that big of a deal, but my husband disagrees. He firstly complained about me not consulting him first, but like I said, it's not a huge deal like birth control. He then said he doesn't feel comfortable with me sleeping in bed wearing pads. This threw me off hard because I wasn't expecting him to have an issue on that regard. But he said it just doesn't feel comfortable for him, and he would like me to use tampons at nighttime or sleep somewhere else. I laughed him off and kept sleeping on the bed while wearing my pads like there was no issue. This made him so uncomfortable, he basically took the couch, then started complaining about how I forced him on the couch by making him uncomfortable after he already offered me compromises. But I told him he was being a drama queen because his compromises are illogical. I wouldn't stop using pads and free bleed on the bed, nor risk my health and use tampons when the doctor advised against them. He's still upset with me, even though I'm no longer on my period, saying I owe him for making him uncomfortable and brushing off his complaints. I think OP is definitely not the jerk. If you're in a long-term committed relationship, do you think that your partner should be able to have any say in what form of, sanitary products you use, or is this just ridiculous to begin with? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Our next story is from WinterApple6053. Am I the jerk for exposing my ex to his mother about our kids? I, 45-year-old female, am currently divorced from my ex Thomas, 47-year-old male of 30 years. We ended up seeing a lawyer to help with dividing stuff. Everything was pretty much wrapped up till he said he no longer wanted any part of our kids' lives, 5-year-old male and 12-year-old female. I didn't argue with him about it since I already know what it's like having a parent who doesn't want you around or wants to be in your life. I asked what he wanted me to tell the kids, and he just said, "Whatever you think is best, I don't care. I don't want a parent anymore." Everything was in agreement, and he signed with no fuss. A few weeks later, I get a call from my ex-mother-in-law asking if we could meet each other. When I came over, she broke down crying and begging to let my ex see his kids again. I was confused about what she meant because not once did he contact me after meeting the lawyer. She went on about how my ex said that he really missed them and that I was a petty witch for taking full custody. Also that he was crying for days about it. I told her my version of events and she called it BS, saying her son wouldn't lie like that, especially not about his kids. Then I decided to call him in front of her. He didn't know she and I were meeting that day. I said, "Hey, 5-year-old has a soccer game in a few days," which he did, and I was wondering if he wanted to go. I know he'd really love it and be happy to see you. He instantly said, "No, I already said I'm not doing this anymore." I raised my voice a bit saying, "Well, what about holidays and birthdays? Because we never discussed any of it and your family might want to see them." He just said, "My family already thinks the kids aren't mine anyways, so it doesn't matter." I asked, "Well, how do you think this is going to affect Denise, his mom? She's over the moon about them." He just said, "She loves me more than the kids, so I doubt this will be an issue for her." After a bit more talking, we finally hung up. Ex-mother-in-law was straight-faced and nodded at everything that just happened, saying, okay. She asked me to leave and said we'd be in touch. Later that day, I got a call from my ex saying how it's my fault he was kicked out of his mom's house and possibly will be taken off her will. Also, that none of his family members will talk to him because of what ex-mother-in-law heard. He threw a lot of insults at me before I hung up, and now him and his mates keep calling and texting me. My friend's saying I shouldn't have said anything in the first place, and I ruined his life. I think he has nothing but himself to blame. If his mother cares more about the kids than he does, and thinks he's a monster or a jerk for abandoning those kids, then sorry, but that's just how it is. Would you guys agree that it would be okay though to keep the mother-in-law in those kids' lives? Our next story is from ThrowRAHair12. Am I the jerk for brushing my hair in spite of my grandma? Context: I, 18-year-old female, have kind of curly hair. It's like halfway, I guess. The bottom curls a lot, but near my scalp it doesn't curl nearly as much. Because of my curls, if I brush my hair, it turns into a giant poofy lion's mane basically. It's all frizzy and staticky and just looks bad. However, I didn't really discover this until I was about 14. My hair was wild growing up. Well, growing up, my grandma always made a fuss over my hair. No matter what you did, it'd be frizzy when dry. So every time I was at her house, she'd have me brush my hair because she never believed that I'd already brushed it. I hope you can see where this is going. Some additional context, I haven't seen my grandma in a few years due to going to a boarding school in a different country. I stayed there for about 2 years, but on breaks I'd only see my parents and friends, not my grandparents. When I returned home for good, my grandparents moved away and I didn't get the chance to see them due to COVID. Well, I finally got the chance to see my grandparents again, and we went to their house for the weekend. With the way my hair is now, it's a bit frizzy as it's drying, but when it's completely dry, the frizz becomes a lot less noticeable due to the curls. I also finger brush to minimize the frizz. My grandma saw me while my hair was drying and told me to go brush my darn hair, and that by this age I should already know how to brush my hair. I told her that brushing my hair so much is what made my hair so frizzy, so I refused. She told me that was BS and that I'd better brush it before our special brunch. I just ignored her for the most part and went into the guest room to do homework. That was until our special brunch when I came out of my room to leave. My grandma saw me and my curls and said, "Look at how much better your hair looks when it's brushed." I told you so. I was literally dumbfounded. Did she seriously think my hair was brushed? I told her it wasn't brushed and she didn't believe me, so I went and got a brush, walked up to her, and brushed my hair. Wouldn't you know it, it was a freaking disaster. The look on her face was priceless. She got all angry at me, saying that I just ruined her family photos. Guess that's why the brunch was so special, and that I needed to fix my hair. I told her there was nothing I could do now, and she was the one who told me to brush my hair anyway. My mom said that I was a jerk for this, but my dad said that it was hilarious. Away from my mom, of course. Though I do kinda see why I'm a jerk, because she paid for a professional photographer, which I didn't know until she told me after the fact, and she told me that my hair looked good, and I ruined it on purpose despite her. So yeah, am I the jerk? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that OP's not the jerk. I feel like the grandma was being unnecessarily judgmental, and also OP had no idea that their hair had to look perfect for well-paid photography, and what the grandma said was almost like a challenge being presented to them that honestly is hard to turn down. By the way, if you're enjoying these stories, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below so you never miss any of my daily videos. Each one has great stories like our next story from Mom Kicked Out. Am I the jerk for kicking my mom out of my dad's old house after finding out what she's been telling my wife? I'm 33-year-old male. I'm beyond angry about this. Some of my siblings are telling me it was an overreaction, while also mad at what she did. I'd really like some thoughts because the house seems divided. My wife Kara and I were friends for years. She was in a very toxic and abusive relationship for 3 years until she begged us, me and our close friends, to help her get out. It was difficult, but we made it possible. We all pitched in for her to stay as far as possible while she got a restraining order and all that jazz. We each took turns going to visit. Then she found out she was pregnant, so I helped out more. Her ex passed from an overdose when my stepson, 7-year-old male, was 4 months old. So since then, we all became sort of like uncles and aunts to him. Around this time, I knew I developed feelings for her, but we never ever did anything because she had her son and personal issues to process. It didn't feel right at the time. But yes, we did start a relationship 3 years later. She's the one who first admitted she's in love with me, so things went from there. We just got married. She's 5 months pregnant with our second child. I'll say that, yeah, my mom had issues at the start of our relationship. We went through a period of not talking until she apologized, so we mended things somewhat. My mom came to stay at our house, which was my dad's house, until he decided to give ownership to me when they moved. He passed away 10 months ago, and with the economy, my mom couldn't stay where they were living before. We're still trying to work out where she can live long term. I heard my mom get into an argument with my wife because she was trying to redecorate the nursery against Kara's wishes. All I heard was my mom telling her that she's not the lady of the house just because her fake victim sob story worked on me. She looked flustered when I demanded her to tell me what that meant. And basically she held on to that same belief, but she was willing to put up with my choices on who I would marry so she doesn't lose me. everything she had to say infuriated me. And then seeing how upset Kara was by everything, I called my brother to come pick my mom up because she can't stay here right now. My mom wouldn't stop crying to not do this to her just for being honest. She's still at my brother's, but they keep trying to talk me to let her coming back because this was my dad's house, and of course she wants to feel closer to him. But after asking Kara if this is the first time she's said anything, she revealed my mom's told her numerous times what she thinks of her and kept it from me because she knew it would hurt our relationship. For that reason, I haven't let my mom come back. It's hard because I know what this house means to her and that she's still sad about my dad, but I also can't forgive her upsetting my wife. Am I the jerk? I think OP's not the jerk, and I totally understand not wanting to upset her because it's the dad's old house, but either way, it's your house now, and if you're going to offer somebody to stay there for free until they can figure out a better situation, preferably that person would not be insulting the life choices of either person letting them stay there. Our next story is from Swalthiest. Am I the jerk for telling my wife to have realistic expectations? My wife and I, 30-year-old female and 34-year-old male, just had this argument, and I want the internet's opinion on if she's setting her sights too high or not. For the past few months, my wife has gotten really into Chinese TV dramas. She started one show with a friend around Christmas, but she kept going. And I'd say she watched at least 6 or 7 decently long series since then and is showing no signs of slowing down. I have to admit, I was already annoyed with this before we ever had this argument. She didn't used to really be into many shows, and a lot of times, she was happy to watch whatever and knit at the same time. She said she liked feeling like she was getting stuff done, but since she watched these Chinese shows with English subtitles, she doesn't do nearly as much knitting. So it feels like she's abandoned a lot of her projects. For example, she usually knits my mom something for her birthday in March, like a hat or a scarf, but she didn't, and I could see my mom was disappointed. So because of this, when my wife told me yesterday that she wants to start learning Chinese so that she can watch more shows and get more immersed in that culture and stuff, I got really irritated. I told her that Chinese is an incredibly difficult language to learn, and since she's an adult, there's no way she'll ever become fluent. She'd just be wasting her time without a hope of actually getting proficient in a language that she would only use in watching TV. I told her it seemed like an unrealistic goal and a waste of time and money. She called me a jerk, told me to freak off, and didn't give any sort of counter-argument. Looking back, I think I spoke sharply, but I think deep down, she must have also realized that it's a stupid idea, but she doesn't want to admit it. I should also say that my wife only speaks English, so she doesn't even have any kind of foundation for learning a foreign language, much less one as notoriously difficult as Chinese. Am I the jerk for wanting her to have realistic expectations for herself? I think OP is the jerk. It would be one thing if this is the kind of thing that is now dominating their life. Like OP never said they couldn't go out to dinner anymore. They never did anything together anymore. They weren't sharing a bed anymore. This wasn't a case of she's on a bad schedule staying up watching these shows and we're so out of sync. No, this was she doesn't knit enough while watching her shows. And now I think something she has a newfound passion for is a waste of time, so I'm just gonna crap all over it. Get back to making my mom another present and stop watching that Chinese stuff is basically what I'm hearing here. Our next story is from designer age 5265. Am I the jerk for not letting my wife buy Starbucks anymore? My wife has recently gotten a taste for Starbucks and started going there once or twice a week last November. Recently, she's going every day and getting venti special drinks and doesn't finish them. It's getting out of hand. She's spending around $50 a week and she doesn't even finish the drink. I've asked her multiple times to at least get the tall drinks or get an amazing coffee machine. I don't mind spending the money for a good coffee machine because at least we all get to enjoy it, and it saves money in the future. She doesn't want to, and I'm getting really frustrated. She's a stay-at-home wife, and our son basically takes care of himself. I can afford the drink, but spending $200 a month on coffee is just a waste. We can do so much with that money. $2,400 a year is a vacation is the way I think of it. We got into an argument when I saw the credit card statement and she spent $300 last month. I took her credit and hid it. She says I'm overreacting, but $300 isn't a joke. I think this really depends on where her money's coming from. If she's working a job and can fund that herself, I think she has every right to go get that Starbucks. If OP's the one person providing the sole income for all of this stuff, then I'm starting to lean towards OP's not the jerk, because there's gotta be some kind of agreement on what is reasonable and rational, and it seems like their partner isn't giving them any consideration. This next story is by HotAd0730. Am I the jerk for threatening to not walk down the aisle if my fiance's twin brother attends the wedding? I, 30-year-old female, am supposed to get married to my fiance, 27-year-old male, but there's a big problem concerning our wedding, and that's his twin brother. His brother is a drug addict and got in a lot of trouble in the past because of it. I obviously don't want a drug addict invited at my wedding, but my fiance insists not only to invite him, but to make him his groomsman too. He says that he went to rehab and he's now clean, but I seriously doubt that. I know people like him, they never change. We kept arguing about it for a couple of days, till yesterday when he invited his brother and his mom over to dinner to convince me to have a change of heart and let him attend the wedding. I was furious that he would invite that drug addict and their nutcase of a mom to my house without consulting me first. I told him that I'm not gonna make dinner for a dopehead and to please leave my house. His brother then started sobbing, saying that I'm unfair for not letting him support his brother on his big day just because of some stupid mistakes. And my future mother-in-law started berating me about how heartless I am for doing this to their sons and being so hung up on something that's in the past. But I told them to drop the act. These stupid mistakes literally landed him in jail, and I'm not gonna allow a former offender at my wedding under any circumstances. And I also told my future mother-in-law to stay in lane, as this is not her wedding, and she's also a big reason for why we've gotten into this situation, as she kept enabling his addiction for a long time. They started shouting at me, but I eventually managed to make them leave my house. My fiance was furious at me and told me he can't believe how badly I treated his family. I told him that's not my fault that his family's formed of a bunch of nutcases, which turned into another argument between us, with me saying that if I see his twin brother between the guests at the wedding, then I'm simply not gonna walk down the aisle. My fiance slept on the couch that night, and he's still treating me coldly even today. But I'm still not willing to reconsider my decision. If anything, I'm now seriously considering to hire a security guard to keep that drug addict, and possibly their crazy mom too, away from my wedding. Am I the jerk, or am I justified in my decision? You know what, I think OP's not the jerk, and I think they shouldn't even go through with this wedding. In fact, I think they should ditch the fiancé and the brother and the mother-in-law and get so far away from them, that'll really show them. Never contact them again, let them move on with their lives, that'll really that'll be good punishment. Do you sense the sarcasm? Honestly, I hope OP's fiancé realizes that this marriage is not gonna make sense. Somebody that treats your family like that are trying to do their best, I think that's a blatant no-go. Our next story is from Alexicon02. Am I the jerk for telling my mom she won't be allowed to see her grandchild if she keeps disrespecting my girlfriend? I'm male 19, so my girlfriend, female 18, found out she was pregnant about a month ago. We really thought about if it was a good idea to keep the child since we're both still young, but we decided to keep it. On Sunday last week, my girlfriend and I announced the pregnancy to my parents. This week I realized that my mom, female 49, might cause a few issues during my girlfriend's pregnancy. My mom is very Catholic. She doesn't believe in a lot of modern things. 2 days after we told them we were gonna have a child, my mom started being very obsessed with my girlfriend. She was asking a lot of strange questions, but I won't get into that. Ever since my mom found out my girlfriend was pregnant, she's been making nasty comments about women who don't breastfeed. My girlfriend was hurt by this because she's physically unable to breastfeed. She had a breast reduction surgery a few years ago, and I'm no doctor, so don't ask me any scientific questions, but from what I know, in her case, they had to actually take off her nipple and put it back on, so she literally can't breastfeed even if she wanted to. I know in some cases women can still breastfeed after the surgery, but due to how hers was done, it wouldn't be possible for her. My mom thinks it's unnatural for women to not breastfeed. I've told my mom that we shouldn't worry about it right now, since my girlfriend still has a long way to go. but for this whole week, my mom has not let it go. I don't understand what my mom expects us to do. My girlfriend can't breastfeed, and that's final. It's never bothered my girlfriend, but ever since my mom's been shaming women for it in front of her, she's gotten extremely insecure about it. What upsets me is the fact that my mom knows why it's not possible. When my girlfriend was 16, she had the surgery, and I helped her wash her back and hair during the recovery period. We'd been dating for roughly 3 months at that point, and I told my mom all about it back then. I reminded my mom several times this week, but she won't let it go. Last night, I flipped out on my mom after I overheard her ask my girlfriend, "Don't you feel like a bad mom for not being able to ever have a real connection with your baby?" I shouldn't have been so rude, but I told my mom, "If you keep disrespecting her, my girlfriend, you won't have a connection with your grandchild because I won't allow you to see the baby." She got really mad at me and told me to leave the house. I slept at my girlfriend's house because my mom locked me out. It's currently evening of the next day, and I'm still not allowed to go back. I don't regret what I said, but I think I might have gone too far. Am I the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk because things were just getting really emotional and really testy, and despite your insistence on trying to make it clear why they can't and why it's okay, they keep bringing it up and beating her down over it, and there's literally nothing that can be done. Who wants to deal with that all the time? Like, we get it, you think less of them because they literally are physically incapable of doing so. Move on. Our next story is from Throwaway7991J. Am I the jerk for telling my brother's wife she's responsible for his health declining? My brother, 30, is a diabetic. He has type 1 diabetes and got it from when he was young. As his older sibling, I grew up watching my parents managing this condition for him. He's always been traumatized by this condition and never come to terms with it, so what he used to and still does is act like this condition doesn't exist. The family, mom's now deceased, didn't know how to handle it, because if we let him act like that, then there would be major consequences, so we took it upon ourselves to manage his condition for him. We'd watch his eating habits and correct them, watch his insulin intake, and encourage him to live healthy. When he brought his now wife home, we told her how it is and that he can be reckless and in denial about his condition, so she needed to help to work with us and keep an eye on him. She did her best at first, but started caving into his complaints about not being able to eat this or that, or when he complains about his insulin intake and having to pay for it. He got increasingly worse the past 3 months. We didn't know exactly what was going on till his wife called to tell us he was in the hospital because of a hyperglycemic episode. His blood sugar levels were too high. He almost went into a diabetic coma. The reason for this was because he wasn't taking the right dosage of insulin. I talked to his wife and had an argument with her. She said he deliberately kept stretching out his insulin dosage to be able to save insulin and not have to buy it. I told her still she should have kept an eye on him. It's unfortunate that their insurance is screwed and the financial situation is rough, but she should have stopped him and not stood there watching. She said I was being too hard on her, but I told her that if he was doing this under the family's watch, we wouldn't have allowed it, and so she bears part of the blame for him staying in the hospital. She started crying and asked for a minute for herself. I went home because I couldn't see him after waiting for long. My dad called later asking about my conversation with sister-in-law. I refrained from talking about it, but he said she called him and told him everything. He said I shouldn't have said this to her and made her feel guilty. I said I was just disappointed that she let this happen and expected her to be the responsible one if my brother wasn't. He said I have to apologize, but I'm unsure whether I was completely at fault here because I feel there's a bit of neglect on her part. I think OP is the jerk because as much as it is good to look out for them and try to make sure they're on the right track, your brother is 30 years old and has lived with this their entire life. It is unequivocally their fault unless they literally cannot help themselves. So not only is it not the wife's fault, going to the hospital where he's still at and telling her to her face that she's the one responsible is such a crappy thing to do. Our next story is from Capable Albatross 980. Am I the jerk for telling my son to grow up? I have 3 sons, 7, 9, and 15. Last night, I needed to do a Target run and asked my 15-year-old if he wanted to go. I could use a set of extra hands, plus it would be an opportunity to have daddy time. He said no, so I went with my youngest too. Towards the end of the shopping trip, I went to see what they had in the clearance section. They had some small Lego packages that were 50% off, and my sons asked if they could get one. I agreed, and then we got ice cream before we left. When we got home, my 15-year-old asked why I didn't ask him if he wanted anything from the clearance section or get him an ice cream. I told him because he didn't want to go with us, plus I made them scan, bag, and load everything into the car. He said that wasn't fair, and I said he's 15 years old witching over a $5 Lego set and a cup of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, so he should really grow up. I think OP is the jerk because overall this just seems like a really petty thing to do. You asked if they wanted to go, they said no, and now you're making it this incentive well, you didn't go with me, you didn't help out, so don't expect me to buy you anything nice while I'm out. I'm not your parent or anything. Oh wait. And also in general, telling a 15-year-old to grow up because they're interested in Lego sets and Ben & Jerry's ice cream is just a pretty crappy thing to tell a kid. Sometimes it makes sense to tell somebody to grow up, but 95% of the time, I just so hate that kind of argument. Our next story is from OK Replacement 2442. Am I the jerk for asking my husband to not be near our daughter during her physical therapy? I, 42-year-old female, have 3 kids. 18-year-old female, 16-year-old male, and 14-year-old female, with my husband, 45-year-old male. My husband has always been the disciplinarian and tends to yell and scream insults a lot and get mad quite easily. And our kids don't have the best relationship with him due to that. Our youngest was in a car accident and experienced a spinal cord injury and is currently going through physical therapy and some surgeries. She's doing some practice at home, and I don't want my husband there a lot when she's going through the therapy or at the hospital picking her up and dropping her off for surgery, as he may instinctively get mad at her messing something up, or him being there may make her feel worried that he's going to get mad. She's also asked me to try and get him to not be there. I confronted him and told him that because he wants to help them, he may get mad easily and upset her when she needs to be as positive as possible. And knowing him, he may worry about grades and let that blind him from worrying about her. He said that he would be there and that as a father, he had the right to get mad when his children make mistakes. I told him that she really needed support during this time and that knowing he tends to be very disciplinary, I would not be letting him near her during this time. He told me that there was nothing stopping him, and I said that I would divorce him if he acted the same way. He told me I was being a freaking psycho, and I'm starting to think that he's right, and maybe I'm overreacting in not letting him be there during this time. Am I the jerk? If it's actually legitimately so bad to the point where the daughter doesn't want to be around them, I don't know if I personally can blame OP. I think as their father, they do have the right to be there, and you can't just say no, they can't be there. But I also feel for the daughter who's seemingly afraid of their father. So I think OP's pretty clearly not the jerk. And our final story of the day is by an anonymous poster. Am I the jerk for getting mad at my wife's gender reveal prank and ruining the party? My wife is currently pregnant, and we're the proud parents of a 2-year-old girl. To be completely honest, this is an accidental pregnancy. I love being a dad, but our marriage hasn't been good for a while, so we didn't mean to bring another child into it. We had a small gender reveal party at our house. There was a small cannon which was going to shoot out blue or pink powder. When my wife took the thing to aim it, she shot the powder all over me on purpose. I was pissed and just turned to glare at her. She immediately looked uncomfortable and tried to laugh. Everyone seemed put off by me not laughing, and a couple people told me to lighten up. I still didn't laugh and just stood there deadpan. I could see my wife getting more and more uncomfortable. When we were away from the crowd, I asked why the freak she would do that, and she got defensive and said it was a prank and she thought it would be funny. I told her she knows I don't like idiotic pranks, and it wasn't. She demanded to know how I could just stand there like that and humiliate her, and I replied that I really don't care if she was humiliated because she chose to behave like that. She began to cry and said she wants to be in a relationship where they can play pranks and it isn't a big deal. I've gotten a lot of crap from a few family members, especially by her dad, about how I overreacted and made the party uncomfortable. I think overall this relationship seems very, very dysfunctional. I'm just gonna say, as far as specifically the party goes and the cannon thing, I think OP's not the jerk. Cause I don't know, it just seems like an annoying thing getting covered in that powder or whatever. But honestly, this might just be everybody's a jerk here because of how dysfunctional this whole thing is and how rocky the relationship is. What do you guys think? But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.